Yo, what is up, you guys? This is Justin. And before I do get started, I wanted to thank you guys for making me a part of your day. This video, we're going to be talking about golf balls. In my previous video, I did a review on the Kirkland Signature 3-piece golf ball. But we're going to talk about kind of a question. I get a lot of questions. I don't know if you guys have noticed that, but I do get a lot of questions. The question that I get all the time is that should you be playing a premium golf ball? Should you be using, a Titleist? So Titleist Pro V1 is kind of like the benchmark, and it's kind of the baseline for a lot of these things because it's been the king for a while. But the good thing and fortunate thing for consumers is that within the last, I'd say 3 or 4 years, there's been many options at many different price points. I'm going to talk about parts of the golf ball. I'm going to talk about things you need to know about, and I'm going to talk about whether or not you should utilize the technology in a more expensive golf ball, or maybe you're just wasting your money. And I'll kind of break it down. A lot of these are going to be generalizations, right? And I know we don't live in a world of generalization. So if you're listening to this and you're saying like, oh no, I disagree, that doesn't apply to me, that's fine, because that will happen. If you have anything else you would like to add, or anything opinions or anecdotal experience, I suggest you put them in the comment section below. Should you be using we'll say a premium golf ball? We're going to talk about the pieces. So we're going to talk about the pieces of the golf ball. When you have a golf ball, there's going to be pieces to this golf ball, right? So you have what is called the cover. Okay, so the outside part of the cover, and that's made out of different materials. And then you have, depending on the number of pieces in a golf ball, you have the inner layer, outer layer, cover. It's kind of like what you learned in science class about the earth, right? And then you have the core. We're going to kind of keep it simple, and we're going to talk a little bit. We're going to start from the outside. What you're going to notice right away is that on premium balls, there are two main cover materials for golf balls, right? For the higher price point, it's going to be urethane, and then for the lower price point, there's going to be two. It's going to be ionomer. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. Ionomer and Surlyn, right? So in general, urethane is very soft, and urethane can actually produce more spin. In terms of spin, urethane will always get the most spin, the highest amount of spin. And so if that's something that you're looking for, especially on wedge shots, that's what you're going to want to look for, right? Now, another question too is that can a Surlyn golf ball spin as much as a urethane golf ball? The answer is sometimes. The consistency between both balls, there's more consistency in urethane, which is why it's more expensive, and Surlyn and ionomer are just a little bit harder. Now there are trade-offs for both of these, right? Urethane is typically softer, feels softer, spins more, but because of its soft nature, it's not as durable as say a Surlyn cover. So if you ever found a Pro V1 on the golf course and it felt different, it's because the covers are different. I have a buddy that actually puts the ball in his mouth and bites on it, which I don't recommend you do, but you can tell. Another way to tell it is if you take your fingernail, right, and then you start scraping the urethane, you should be able to kind of almost put your fingernail into the urethane cover, and that's the easiest way to check on that. All right, Surlyn, if you've ever found a top flight on the golf course, that's typically going to be a Surlyn golf ball, and that's cover. So the only difference between those two is that urethane is softer and produces more spin consistently. And the key word is consistent, because an ionomer can produce as much spin, but it's all over the board. Like the range for spin on a Surlyn golf ball is like this wide. The range for spin on the urethane cover is about that. When I talk about spin, remember that the cover is what dictates the spin. All right. Moving on to the core. Okay, so in the core, there's going to be the outer layer of the cover is one piece, right? The inside is going to be the second piece. And so when we get into 3-piece and 4-piece balls, which is going to be the premium golf ball, it's in different pieces. It basically looks like the model of the earth when you were in science class, all right? And I'll try to put a picture or something right here. The reason why you have different pieces is because you have different characteristics when you're choosing your golf ball. So the spin and the cover are going to be mainly short game. The core, especially the inside core, if you see a gradient core on some of these, like, let's see. Actually, there you go right there. So if you have, this is a 3-piece ball, as you can see, there's the cover, there's the inner core, and there's the outer core right there. When we have those set up, the inner core, the core that's most in the middle, okay, we'll say the inner core, that is what provides explosive distance off the tee. So when you hit a golf ball, if you've ever seen a golf ball hit in slow motion, it compresses and shoots back and kind of like it's a little blob. The inner core is utilized to make more distance off the tee, launch conditions, etc. You guys are going to be more interested in the cover as the cover and the compression are the only two things you probably are going to be interested in when you're picking your golf ball. We have the number of pieces, we have the cover, and we have the core. Okay, so those are the things that you're going to want to take into consideration. When we talk about the cover, the two main covers are going to be urethane and Surlyn or ionomer. Basically, when you go to the range, Surlyn is what the range balls are made out of. We're talking about those things. The next thing we're going to do is talk about how to pick your golf ball. So we're going to talk about how to pick your golf ball, and we're going to focus mainly on, actually, you know what? I forgot to talk about compression. All right, compression is what it sounds like. All right, you have a rating between 0 and 100. The higher the compression, the more compressed the insides of the ball is. Compression is how a ball feels. Okay, not necessarily how it spins, how it feels. The cover will make it spin, and the soft cover will make it feel soft, but the compression is actually how the ball feels. Lower compression balls feel awesome. They feel very soft. They feel great. Higher compression balls, players don't necessarily like them, but I actually use a higher compression ball. All right, so we're going to talk about how to pick your golf ball. When you play golf, there are 18 holes. So we're going to assume that 14 of those holes are par 4s. Out of those 14 par 4s, we'll say 10 to 12, you're going to have to hit driver off of them. We're going to focus our selection on 3 parts of your game. Off the tee box, okay, so your driver, 5 wood, anything you hit off the tee box. Your middle irons, so we're going to say anything from 5, 6, 7, 8. That's your middle irons. Actually, anything that's not a wedge to me is considered a mid iron. So 9, 8, 7, 6. And then we're going to talk about short game. So when I specifically talk about short game, I'm talking about chipping, putting, pitching. So pitching is like a high shot. Chipping is a running shot around the green. So we're going to talk about those, right? Now the recommendation, and I'm sure you've been taught this, how you should have learned how to play golf. Okay, the way that you would learn this is that we're going to start from the hole and go backwards. Okay, so this is probably the way that you were taught how to play golf. It's not necessarily the most correct way, but it's not as wrong as others. And we're going to talk about putting. All right, so here's what you're going to do. You're going to take your putter, whatever putter you have, and you're going to putt with a lot of golf balls. This is how you should pick your golf. The two things that are going to determine whether or not you get along with the ball are going to be the cover and slight compression issues, unless the ball is super, super hard. This is where you should go buy a sleeve of golf balls, all right? So when you go down, the only thing about buying a sleeve of golf balls is that the pro shop, I believe, is probably one of the only few places where you can buy a sleeve of golf balls. And if you buy it by the sleeve, they're typically slightly more expensive. I'm going to talk a little bit about golf balls at the end, but I'm going to tell you about the way that you should pick your golf ball. Okay, don't worry about the price. Don't worry about what the pros play. Don't worry about any of that. We're going to talk about all that stuff later. Go to the golf shop, pick a sleeve of golf balls, pick the softest one you can afford. This is just the baseline. We want to get a baseline, all right? So don't, before you fire up the keyboard and start yelling at me, pick the softest golf ball that you can afford. What you're going to do when you get a sleeve of those is that you're going to putt with that sleeve of golf balls inside your house. I actually don't recommend that, but inside your house, at the putting green, and so on. You're going to work on all these balls, and let's say you bought 2 or 3 sleeves of different balls, and you're going to focus on which one you like the best, which one makes the correct sound, which one makes the correct feel, which one gives you confidence over the putt. So we want to establish a baseline for your putting picked by your ball. Things that you need to look for when you are putting and trying to figure out your ball selection is the feel, the confidence it inspires, and the sound. Feel and sound are so correlated that you would be surprised at just the sound of the ball can make it feel better. Once you've picked that, we're going to go even a step further back, all right? Now that you picked your ball based on putting, because every time you're going to have to putt, unless you chip in all the time, is that you're always going to have to putt it. We're going to go backwards. We're going to talk about pitching and chipping. This is where the cover and the compression are going to play a bigger factor. All right, so we're going to talk about 50-yard pitch shots and full sand wedge shots. While you're playing with the ball that you've selected, we may have to go back to the drawing board, but we're going to take the ball that you selected. You're going to play around, and you're going to focus and commit to this ball. You're going to play, and you're going to kind of focus on your short game shots, your wedges, specifically your full wedge shots, and your pitch shots. Chipping's fine, but if you're already a decent chipper, then you probably don't need any of this info. When you are chipping and pitching with your ball and hitting full wedge shots, one thing you want to look at is where your ball lands and where it ends up. Okay, so if you look, and it's called a pitch mark that you should repair, look where you're going and see your distances. Okay, if for some reason, let's say you have a 100-yard wedge shot, right? And for you, maybe a 100-yard wedge is typically a 56-degree wedge. For some reason, when you hit this ball, it always goes 105 to 110. You need to make note of that if you want to be able to select this golf ball and take your game to the next level. For some of you guys, if the spin is too much, it may actually, take your full 100 and it might bring it back down to 90 yards. Okay, so you need to be, that's what we're focusing on now. We've already established the putter baseline. We've already established a ball that we like with the putter. Now we're trying to figure out our wedge and our spin. The reason why you want to figure out those two things is that because after you figure out the spin, you will be able to either aggressively approach more pins, or you'll be able to, mitigate your miss. You'll know exactly where your carry distances are and your total distances roll out. Moving on to the mid part. Now, we're going to talk about the mid irons. I actually don't care about the mid irons, so we're going to throw that out of there. The reason why is because the mid irons, it doesn't really matter. Okay, I know a lot of people would disagree, but to me, the mid iron has never affected my thoughts on a golf ball. It's always been short game and driving. The last part we're going to go to is the driver. For the most part, all golf balls, because of the technology and the physics involved, will pretty much go the same distance. And when I say the same distance on pure strikes, all right? So let's say you hit a golf ball the same on all these holes. Well, let's say you hit a decent strike, because if you slice a golf ball, it's not going to go as far. Let's say that you hit a decent strike, quality strike on 3 shots with 3 different golf balls. They're going to end up around the same area. The only thing that a golf ball manufacturer can change is going to be the launch and spin characteristics off the driver, and that's going to be based off the core and compression. You've already established, so here's how it works. If you already established that you putt with the ball really well and you pitch with the ball really well, just use that ball, because unless you're getting 250-yard carry off the tee, there's no reason to ever go the other way. Strangely enough, I actually buy a ball based off driver characteristics and go the other way, and I'll tell you about that in a different video. That's how you would pick your ball. There's going to be, for the most part, we're going to talk about spin characteristics in the upcoming. I'll give you a few picks, but that's going to be the best way, the most efficient way, because I've gone through a lot of golf ball choices in my career, my short golf career. I've noticed that I played with balls that, I played with golf balls that were, that were harder and cheaper, and I've shot scores with those golf balls instead, right? So that's how you would pick and determine your golf ball. I'll go with a few quick picks, and then I'll kind of go and tell you how I determine my golf. So we're going to talk about tier 1, and we're going to go by price. So tier 1 and tier 2. I'm going to assume that you want a soft golf ball, because most people like the way soft golf balls feel. They just feel better. I'm going to give you my top tier picks for soft golf ball, and they're not going to be necessarily the ball I play, because if you've seen my video, you already know the ball that I play. It's not particularly a soft ball. In tier 1, and this is going to be by price, all right? The first golf ball that I've had really good experience with is going to be the TP5X, all right? Now, the softer version is going to be the TP5. They're both made by TaylorMade. The 5 is going to be the number of pieces, all right? So 5 pieces in a golf ball is actually kind of a lot. A lot of people will say that's kind of too many, but the TP5 and the TP5X, the ball technology in the TaylorMade TP5 and TP5X, we can say that it's surpassed the Pro V1, or handles just as good as the Pro V1, but in my opinion, it has surpassed the Pro V1. The only issue that I had when I played the TP5X was the durability. I mean, one good wedge shot, it's done. So that's another issue that you may need to address when you're selecting your golf ball, TP5. I actually got a free sampler pack, so I got 5 of them. They were awesome golf balls. They putted well. I probably would have switched to the TP5X, but I hit a tree and it was done. So, just don't hit trees, right? And so the TP5X, I think it's the best ball out right now. The durability brings it down so far that I can't recommend that golf ball to anybody. All right, the second pick in my top tier 1 is going to be the Bridgestone Tour B, and it's Bridgestone Tour BX. Okay, these were formerly known as the B330 and the B330S. I've always had an affinity to Bridgestones. I've always really liked the way Bridgestones play. A lot of the better players like the Bridgestone. Tiger Woods plays Bridgestone now, but that's probably not the best person to go off with, right? He's putting okay, he's just not playing very well right now. The B330S is one of the few spinnier balls that I got along with. So I think in terms relative to the other manufacturers, the B330S is actually pretty good. My third pick is going to be the Callaway Chrome Soft. And I actually don't particularly like the Callaway Chrome Soft or the Chrome Soft X. I just know that it's a very popular ball. And the Callaway Chrome Soft is actually one of the balls to change the way these golf balls have performed, because it is a very low compression ball for a premium ball. Because of its low compression, a lot of people love the way the Callaway Chrome Soft feels. I actually hate the way the Callaway Chrome Soft feels. It feels like a marshmallow being squished on my driver every time I hit it. I do know a lot of people like this ball. A lot of people have switched to this ball. And if you want to try it out, it does putt really well. So if you want to try a sleeve of those out. Another thing too is that at certain shops you can buy like one golf ball. Right, so I would recommend buying those. They're awesome to chip and putt with. I see noticeable distance loss when I tee it up, right? And the last one, the ubiquitous Titleist Pro V1, Pro V1X. I haven't played a Pro V1. One of the better scores I shot this year, probably the best score I shot this year was with a Pro V1X from last year. I was just trying to get rid of it. It's weird because I don't think Titleist balls are overrated. I think they're overpriced. But every time I've ever shot a score, I've used one, which is weird. So maybe I should just use it, right? Okay, moving on to tier 2. So tier 2 is going to be kind of in the lower price range. This is where I would recommend you guys start, because if you buy those golf balls, it's going to be like 12 bucks a sleeve. So I don't recommend doing that. You can use tier 2, and we're going to talk about a few of these golf balls and then go down one more tier. So on tier 2, they have the Bridgestone E6 Soft, which is a very soft, low compression ball. I've used this ball before. A little too soft for my liking. I can't spin these balls nearly as much as I can the urethane balls. So while it is soft and I like it, it's just not the ball for me. But I think for a lot of people, it would fit a lot of people very well. Okay. The second ball is going to be the Q-Star Tour. I found one of these on the course, played 9 holes with it. Played pretty well. Spin characteristics were good, but it's just, I didn't really like it too much, right? Now, my third pick is going to be the one that I've always really enjoyed, and I said it almost in every video, is going to be the Callaway Super Soft, right? The Callaway Super Soft, I think, is the best ball at its price range. It's very low compression. It feels really good. I think a lot of golfers will fit in the Callaway Super Soft. I think everybody that's played this ball has been like, yeah, I like this ball. And that's where I would start. I don't like to endorse certain products or say use this, but the Callaway Super Soft, for my money, I think for a lot of players, they would find a lot of benefit from that. Especially for women too. So if you golf and you're a lady out there, you can start with the Callaway Super Soft, because while it still has a soft cover, its compression is low enough to where a slower swing speed would see benefit from it. Even for ladies, they can play the Super Soft and be just up there with anything else in higher compression. Okay, one more down. Okay, so we'll talk a little bit about one more down in price point, but they're similar. The Top Flight Gamer Urethane is supposed to be a really good ball. I've had a buddy who played this, and he's a pretty decent player, and he's shot scores with it, and I've never played it, but the urethane cover, the price point was really good, and he really liked it. The second one is going to be the Wilson Staff Duo. I think it's a 2 or 3 piece ball, but a lot of people, this is kind of a fan favorite on a lot of the websites that I go to. That's kind of what I would go through, and those are my picks for the urethane balls, tier balls. Recapping, go from the pin backwards, and then once you find one you love around the green, just stick with that ball, because for the most part, unless you're a really high swing speed player, most golf balls off the tee are going to go the same distance, relatively the same. We're not talking about distance gains from 20 to 30 yards. It's going to be between 5 and 10 yards different. Shortly, my gamer ball, it was in a different video, it's the Z-Star XV. I am on the Shrixon bandwagon. I think the Shrixon is by far the better ball, the best ball. The only problem that most people don't like about it is that it's a higher compression ball. Even the Z-Star, the softer version of their Z-Star line, is a high compression ball. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section below. If I missed out on any recommendations, please put them in the comment section below, and then let me know what you guys play. Let me know how you picked, how you came up with it. My recommendation would be the Callaway Super Soft, or the price is a little high on the TP5. Other than that, I've been Justin. I'll talk to you guys later. Let me know what you guys want to see in the next video too. Okay, bye.